Welcome to a new market update, and what we can see is that the altcoins are moving alongside Bitcoin as Bitcoin has made a slight bounce back up. Instead of looking at the higher time frames, we're going to dive into the lower time frames to see which levels have to hold in order to have an upwards test at 46k. And in this short update, we're also going to watch what Ethereum has to do in order to become bullish again. So that's the topic of today. But before that, do not forget to subscribe beneath, like this YouTube update, and check out my Twitter and Instagram where you can find the latest content on the cryptocurrency markets. And yesterday I've made a tweet in which I'm expecting to see a big run to be happening during this year, given the fact that on-chain analysis are signaling the same as what it has been doing on the latest bottoms as well. What we also can see is that the actual sentiment of the markets is ultra rubbish. For instance, on Cardano or multiple other assets, the expectations were that they were going down even more. And as a matter of fact, we're seeing some bounces being played out. So I think the overall conclusion and lesson is that you should stick to actually trading levels in which I've been buying heavily in the past week, and I've been sharing that in the platform, which is 8 Global. In the gold membership, you can see everything that I do in my trading portfolio, and we have been buying heavily. We've been buying into multiple assets, and we are looking into profits on them right now. So instead of continuing this intro, let's head towards the charts to see what Bitcoin and Ethereum has to do or have to do in order to have more upwards momentum. So when we're looking at the price action of Bitcoin, the conclusion can be drawn that we have seen a beautiful bounce from this crucial area that Bitcoin has to hold, right? Is it already confirmed that we are back to bullish behavior? Definitely not, given the fact that we've had a similar move in the previous range. So in the previous range, we also were dropping south, in which we were making lower highs, lower lows. Had a beautiful retest of the range resistance and came all the way down, in which we nuked through support and tested a lower level. So at this case, we still have the crucial levels that we should be looking at, right? So we've got this beautiful support level that we've currently hold on to, and we've got a very beautiful crucial resistance that we have to break. If 46k breaks and flips for support, and as I've been stating, I think that that's the crucial point here, given the fact that we have been acting, or we're going to find range high or range resistance there. So if that one breaks, we are back into this range, and then we most likely are going to get the test to the other side and are finding ourselves into continuation as the trend is going to reverse. So for me, 46k is an ultra important point to look at when it comes to trading, when it comes to the levels that we should be focused on. So the downside is still quite clear, the upside too, but how are we going to get towards that level? Well, we just have to hop and find strength by bouncing on the previous resistance point. So we have been covering this lower time frame price action on Bitcoin earlier, in which we were acting in that resistance point, got a fake out here, which nuked back into the range, and from there we've got another test of the support, took the liquidity beneath the recent lows, bounced back up and started taking the highs and flipping the levels. What we can see here is that in this structure we've flipped the level that we were acting in as resistance, and we have started continuing the actual momentum. So if we're looking back at the price action previously, what do I want to see to avoid another breakdown to the range low? We have to hold on to the previous high. So in that case, I'm looking at the levels that we've got here, which I find super important to hold, which is the 43k level. If we continue flipping those levels for support, we can continue running, and then we can have tests all the way towards the resistance point at 46k. Does that mean that we're done in this range and might not be getting any retest of the lows again? I think that the chances that we're going to have a retest taking place here and then come back down to have a higher low being constructed is very normal to be expecting here. That is the most likely scenario, I would say. in which we're going to have those lower tests before we're going to continue the actual momentum upwards and before we are actually breaking this entire downtrend. I think that that's quite likely, especially given the fact that if we are getting in this range for the first time, it should be a reference point for traders to start taking profits. Now, when we're looking at Ethereum against USDT, we've got this similar construction, right? So we've had these lower highs being played out. We've got a sweep of the low, which took the liquidity, as we can see with the high volume bar there. We've got a beautiful support resistance flip happening here too, and given this breakout, we took out all these shorts here, or all the stops on the shorts, and have started to trend even further. Now we are facing a resistance point in which we could be finding ourselves into actually we are seeing a resistance there already, as the price has been acting in this range and rejected there. The level that I personally would want to watch to sustain as support in order to avoid any tests of these regions again is the area that we are facing here at 3.2. But just the same conclusion as with Bitcoin. If we get in this range, and I'll just zoom out for a little bit, it is very likely to assume that we're going to have sellers taking over here and that we're going to have a drop later taking place before we're actually breaking out of this downtrend. So yes, the market is eager to have those tests happening in which we retest previous support levels, which were the level that actually nuked the entire market even further down at the start of this year. I'm not assuming that we're going to make a breakout out of it in one go, but this is the most likely scenario and most anticipated scenario. I do not believe that we are going to just blast through the resistance point if we test that for the first time after such a big nuke. So are we close to a finish of this accumulation period, or are we ready for bullish manners? I think we are, but we should be realistic in which the chances that we're going to correct after a test at those levels are just quite normal to expect. Later today I'll be back with my explanation on why I'm expecting a big bull run to be happening. Definitely subscribe beneath, and I'll see you again soon.